I couldn't believe what I was hearing when my boss said I couldn't take any time off with pay. It was shocking. I always stand up for myself, but this time it was too much. She basically told me not to bother coming back. Hearing that, I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. I asked if she was really sure about her decision, which surprised her. Her eyes got wide with surprise. It was disappointing. My name is Nancy, and I just turned 28. I've been working at Kando Corporation for 10 years, which makes me experienced even though I'm still young. My family isn't rich, but my parents took good care of me. I'm an only child, so I didn't get a lot of new things. Most of my clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins or neighbors. Getting new clothes was rare, but I was happy with what I had. I have lots of love from my neighbors and relatives. I have great memories of going on picnics with my parents on weekends. Even though I didn't have much growing up, I'm still close with my cousins, and we talk often. I had a lot of love around me as I grew up. In 12th grade, I was the student council president and had good grades. My teacher thought I should go to college, but I didn't want to. I wanted to work for the government. My parents wanted me to choose a different job, but I went ahead and became a government worker despite their advice. I wanted to help my parents with money as soon as I could. But then my dad got very sick and passed away before I could do much for him. So I started taking care of my mom instead. We lived together and kept busy with everyday life. Time went by quickly, and I learned a lot while working. After 5 years, I became well respected at my job and lived comfortably. I was in charge of training new people and sometimes did important tasks for my boss. Plus, I got good bonuses, which let me give my parents $600 every month. In my free time, I enjoyed going on trips with friends, coworkers, and my boyfriend. Then, our boss changed, and the new boss was a woman who happened to be the president's daughter. People said she didn't work hard because she relied on her dad's money. The president wanted her to learn some important lessons about life, so he gave her a big job. Only the president and I knew about his plan. Many people in the company didn't think she deserved the job because they thought she only got it because of her dad. The work atmosphere was getting more and more tense, and it was starting to feel suffocating. And then trouble found its way to me. It happened when I made a cup of hot coffee for the new boss. "What's this?" "Are you trying to make me mad?" "I made it just like you asked." She gave me an angry look and threw the hot coffee towards me. "Ow, why did you do that?" I couldn't dodge it, so I held my right arm, which got hit by the coffee, and stared back at her. "How is this what I asked for?" I said I wanted it warm with extra milk and sugar. I made it warm with 2 cups of milk and 2 scoops of sugar. It's too hot. Normally, it's 4 cups of milk and 3 scoops of sugar. She acted like her way was the only right way and forced her preferences on others. "I'm sorry. I'll make you another one right away. This is why I don't like people who only finished high school. My dad told me you're good at your job and everyone trusts you. I have a lot to learn. I only seem good because everyone here supports me." While she kept making snide comments, the pain in my burned arm got worse. I just wanted to leave and cool down my arm. "I was excited to meet you after hearing my dad praise you, but what a letdown. I wonder how you impressed him." When she said those mean words, a coworker tried to help, but I signaled that I was okay, not wanting to draw her attention. Later, that coworker became her new target. Anyone she targeted before ended up feeling so stressed that they quit their jobs. Now it seems like she's targeting me. While I was thinking about what to do, she grabbed my burned arm and squeezed it tightly. "You're brave to ignore me, but don't think you'll get away with it." I winced in pain. After seeing my reaction, she let go of my arm and told me to make coffee again. I made an excuse and rushed to the kitchen to cool down my arm. It was awful. After work, I went to see a skin doctor and got some medicine, but my arm didn't fully heal and left a mark. So I dressed in a way that hid it, so others wouldn't worry. Since that day, she started bothering me even more. "What's wrong with this paper? It's full of mistakes. Take your job seriously." "What mistakes are there?" I asked, trying to figure out her mood. She threw the paper at me. There can't be any mistakes. I checked it. And it's annoying to be criticized with a red pen. I sighed at her childish behavior. Honestly, this paper needs to be fixed because it's not good enough. You came here without knowing much. Please admit the mistakes and learn. I tried teaching her like I did with other new workers, but her pride got in the way. Don't argue. Just do your job. I'm the boss, so I don't have to do this. And this is what the president wants. You're trying too hard to impress my dad, right? You came from a family without a dad, didn't you? I was surprised she brought up my family. Plus, we never talked about this before. You only have your mom now, right? Your dad worked hard in a poor family, got sick, and wasn't rewarded. Let's not talk about personal stuff at work. I just wanted to chat a bit. You're so boring. I couldn't hide my annoyance when she made fun of my parents. You're getting mad, huh? That's funny. My parents are amazing. You, who know nothing, can't say anything. She quickly replied when she heard my voice change. So, that's how you really are, huh? Is it okay to treat the president's daughter like this? Maybe I'll tell my dad how you've been treating me badly. Do as you please. Fix the test paper and hand it in today. I'm going to make sure you leave this place. As I walked away from her, she whispered something to me, but I ignored her and went back to my desk. After that, she kept being sarcastic. But I managed to teach her some basic stuff, although it was a long process. It included simple things like using the computer and different types of documents. During my break, I sat on the rooftop bench, sipping coffee to relax my tired body and thinking about my future. Suddenly, my phone rang with an unknown number. Hello, is this Nancy? This is Savvy Hospital. Your mom was brought in urgently, and she's in critical condition. Can you come right away? My mind went blank, and I couldn't remember much after that. I left a note on her desk saying I was leaving early and rushed to the hospital in a taxi. At the hospital, I explained the situation, and a nurse took me to see my mom. Mom, this can't be happening. There she was, looking peaceful as she slept. The doctor said she had collapsed at work. When she got to the hospital, it was touch and go. My mom's heart wasn't strong since my dad passed away, and the stress might have affected her. I cried and hugged her tightly for a while. After bringing my mom home, I called the manager to ask for my first paid leave ever. I'm sorry for leaving early today. My mom just passed away. Can I take about a week off for the funeral and everything? Oh, that's why you left early when I wasn't here. It was an emergency with your mom. Her cold tone hurt, especially at such a sad time. I won't approve any paid leave for you. I couldn't believe it. In all the 10 years I've worked here, I've never taken a single day off with pay. Wait, what? I've done a lot for this company. Shouldn't I be allowed to take time off with pay to say goodbye to my mom? You always challenge me. You don't need to come back. When she said that, I couldn't take it anymore. Are you sure about that? I'll take you up on your offer. She kept talking, but I hung up without thinking twice. The funeral went well. I didn't just sit and cry. I kept busy with tasks and sent thank you notes to everyone who helped. It helped distract me for a while. She tried calling me many times, but I didn't answer. Later, the president called me, so I went to the office. After 2 weeks, I went straight to the president's office. On the way, 2 coworkers comforted me. Sorry, I need to see the president first. Their kindness made me feel a bit better. It's Nancy. Can I come in? I asked when I knocked on the door. They let me in right away. Hey, it's been a while. Heard you've been gone for 2 weeks. That's not like you. I'm sorry. Let me explain. I told him everything, not hiding how his daughter treated us. It must have been hard for him to hear negative things about his own daughter, but he listened to me. I'm sorry for my daughter's behavior. To be honest, my wife and I spoiled her, and this is the result. It's okay. I think my parents might have felt the same way as parents. The president smiled kindly at me. Nancy, you're really amazing. My daughter's behavior was my mistake. I've talked to the people who quit in the past 2 weeks. I can't apologize enough for that. This was the first time I'd seen the president look so troubled. Since you stopped coming to the department where my daughter works, things have been a mess. The other day, the whole team even protested together. Really? I didn't know it got that bad. So, what's your plan? The president looked sad for a moment, but then he returned to his usual self. I need your help. When I looked into his serious eyes, I decided to help. Okay, I'm happy to help. And that's when actions were taken against her. Hey, when are you coming back to work? The frustrated manager finally contacted me. But didn't you tell me not to come? Stop that. Everything's a mess here. Come to the office now. I reluctantly changed and went to work. But when I got there, nobody was around. It was weirdly quiet, like a weekend. Isn't it a weekday? This feels strange. While I was alone in the office, I heard yelling and things being thrown from my department. I cautiously went to see what was happening. What's happening? I asked when I saw her causing trouble. She quickly turned and grabbed me. It's all your fault. Since you stopped coming, everyone else did too. Now I can't reach anyone. How will you fix this? I don't understand. Please don't blame me. I said calmly. She let go of me and pushed me away. You're so annoying. Even my dad won't help me. What's going on? How long has it been since everyone stopped coming? Just half a day. I've been answering calls, which I never do, and I don't know what to do anymore. She looked tired and messy. Her hair was a mess, and her nail polish was chipped. She must have hung her jacket somewhere. There were angry phrases written on it. When I saw her, who always acted like she was in charge, looking so upset, I couldn't help but laugh. Serves you right. What'd you say? This is your fault. What did you think would happen? Nobody follows someone who just throws their power around without real skills. As I stood my ground, she came closer, getting red in the face. Say that again. Do you want to get kicked out of the company? Well, I'd like to stay if you leave. Then you're fired? I'll take over this company. That's too bad for you. She had a strange smile and looked proud. I just said, okay, thanks for everything, even if it was short. She looked surprised. You know you're fired, right? Yes, I do. I'll pack my things. I walked carefully to my desk, avoiding the papers on the floor, and started packing. Wait, are you really quitting? Yes, why? I tilted my head. She seemed less confident now, almost desperate. Shouldn't you finish today's work at least? Her confidence was gone, and she looked worried. Did you know it's against the law to deny paid leave without a good reason? It's the law. She looked pale. She was clearly upset. But I kept going. We're all human. I understand we might not get along, but that doesn't mean you can treat people badly. You're not fit to be a manager. I wonder what your parents are like. Who do you think you are? Insulting my parents? You won't get away with this. Well, you insulted mine too, so you're not getting off easy either. She was angry but tried to act tough. We're nothing alike. You're terrible. You said the same about those who left. You treated them badly too. That's right. They made me feel worthless, so I made things hard for them. It felt good when they left. I sighed and looked down the hallway. She followed my gaze and muttered, Dad, why are you here? The president walked in and went straight to her father. There's been a misunderstanding. No need to explain. I have proof of what you did. No, they were jealous of my skills and set me up. I didn't do anything wrong. The president scolded her when she tried to explain herself. You fool! I hoped the capable workers would help you improve. But in the past few months under your leadership, our performance dropped and we lost money. But I made you a manager, so I trusted you, right? I hope you can do better this time. No. If I didn't promote you, you would have quit. The president's serious attitude made her nervous. I never considered letting you take over the company. This time, I'll move you to the countryside to help you learn from the basics. Please understand. You'll be checked regularly, and the people there are reliable. Get ready. She turned pale, lying down and crying and laughing at the same time. I cheerfully said, too bad, to her later that day. The next day, she left the company without anyone seeing her off. The employees, happy to have a day off given by the president, returned to work happily without her. The office became peaceful again, and everyone smiled. Meanwhile, she started over in a rural town with no modern comforts. Her family's influence didn't matter there, and she was taught strictly by her coworkers every day. Over time, she started to change. She began speaking politely and accepting feedback. Surprisingly, the president got an apology call from her, which was unexpected. At first, I listened to her, but she ended up begging, "I've learned my lesson. Please ask the president to let me come back." I said no, and I stopped answering her calls and blocked her number. The president personally reached out to those who had quit because of her and asked them to come back. The company's performance improved quickly, even better than before. I got promoted to the manager's position that she left. Everyone in the department was happy when the president chose me. The job is harder than I thought, and I feel a bit overwhelmed, but with the support of my coworkers, I'm doing okay. Because of the burns I got, I received some extra money from the manager's salary, which made my life more comfortable. Recently, my boyfriend proposed to me, and I'm thrilled. We're expecting a baby next year, and we're both excited. Even though I'm only in my second trimester, we're already prepared for the baby's arrival. So, there's this friend of mine who always avoids paying for meals. Every time we go out, she conveniently leaves without paying, and I end up covering the bill all the time. Once, she invited me to a hotel and suddenly told me to pay $1,500 for our stay. I was confused and asked her what she was talking about. She insisted that I should foot the bill for our lodging, which seemed completely unreasonable. I'm still shocked, but I've decided it's time to make her face reality. I'm Michelle, a 45-year-old office worker. I live with my husband of 18 years, our daughter in middle school, and our son in elementary school. Since both my husband and I work, we share household chores. Whoever has some free time does the dishes, and we work together to manage our daily lives. My husband is really involved with our kids, driving our daughter to sports activities and playing catch with our son. He's an awesome dad, and I feel fortunate to spend time with such a caring husband and adorable children. One day, someone disrupted my peaceful routine. While I was taking out the trash in the morning, my neighbor and fellow mom, Susan, asked if I wanted to go for coffee sometime. I hesitantly replied, "Coffee, really?" She explained that there's a new trendy cafe nearby with delicious Korean bread, and she thought we could go together. Although I wasn't too excited, I agreed to go on Saturday. Susan, who hadn't spoken much before, seemed really enthusiastic. I was initially planning to decline because I prefer spending my weekends with my family after a busy week of work, house chores, and taking care of the kids. However, Susan knew my children's schedules and mentioned that on Saturday, my daughter has sports and my son has plans with friends. Surprised, I asked her how she knew, and she cheerfully shared that she heard it from David, who is in the same sports activities as my daughter, and my son mentioned his plans. Feeling a bit pressured by Susan's good mood and information about my kids' plans, I reluctantly agreed to go to the cafe on Saturday. She left after setting the date and meeting place, and I found myself committed to our coffee outing. On Saturday, I was feeling a bit down because I had worked extra hours. We were supposed to meet at the station, but Susan was late, and she didn't apologize. Even when we reached the cafe, there was a long line, mostly of young people. I suggested going to another place, but Susan insisted on waiting because she really wanted to try the bread there. After an hour of waiting, we finally got a seat. Susan, feeling tired, commented that I should have gotten the drinks while we waited. I apologized, and despite my frustration, I smiled. The bread she recommended was indeed delicious, and I thought about bringing my family next time. As we were about to leave, Susan suddenly needed to use the restroom. I waited for 5 more minutes, feeling the stares of people waiting, and ended up paying the bill. After another 10 minutes outside, Susan came out, saying her stomach hurt a little. I asked about her condition, but she said she was fine and walked ahead of me. Trying to talk, Susan cut me off and insisted I choose a drink. Even when I declined, she pushed me to pick something. I chose tea, and she said it's on her, looking satisfied. I thanked her, but I couldn't help feeling uneasy. I wondered if she thought this covered the cost of coffee and bread. I didn't feel comfortable asking her to pay directly. As we arrived at the station, Susan quickly went home, saying she had something to do. After that, every time Susan invited me for tea, she never paid for it. Not only that, she kept asking about my family's activities from other people. On weekends, she left her kids with her in-laws and went out with friends, hardly being at home. Recently, she even left her kids with us to go out drinking on weekday nights. She checked when we would be home, brought her child before dinner, and said, "Take care of my child too." The kid enjoyed eating with us, but it was a burden for the adults. I asked if her husband was home, and she mentioned he's often on business trips. I wish she would at least contribute to the cost of food, considering we already have 2 grown children. But Susan just said, "It doesn't make much difference with just 2 more and left." Any homemaker would understand the financial strain. It's been a month since we started living this way, and the kids are on summer vacation. On the way home, Susan invited us to go out with our families. I was unsure because my husband had been approached by her earlier. Since Susan's husband would be home, she invited us during the holiday. I hesitated, thinking if it's with the family and her husband is there, it should be fine. My husband mentioned it to the kids, and they seemed excited. We agreed, and Susan and I decided on the time and place. On the day of the outing, her husband couldn't make it due to a sudden business trip. It would be just Susan and her 2 children. We followed behind in our own car to a rental campground with cottages, planning to stay overnight. While we prepared the barbecue, the kids were already playing. Once everything was ready, we started grilling the meat. We ordered food for 10 people, including 2 extra servings since Susan's husband couldn't make it. We ended up with 3 extra servings, and I was worried it might be too much. Breakfast is always the kids' favorite, but during summer break, figuring out lunch and dinner can be a bit of a hassle. Today, we decided to keep it simple by just grilling meat. While my husband and I were busy preparing and grilling meat, Susan just sat there, not doing anything, with a calm look on her face. She mentioned that we need to watch the kids properly, but she only watched them from a distance. When I called the children to eat, she grabbed some meat, saying, "Wow, that looks delicious." We were surprised, and Susan suddenly realized, "Oh, is this for the children?" I wanted to give it to the kids first, but since we were grilling more, I thought it would be okay. The kids looked disappointed, expecting an apology from Susan, but she just laughed and said, "You better eat quickly, or I'll eat it all up." My husband and kids were shocked. Then Susan ate even more meat than the growing children. We had planned for 1 lamb chop per person, but she had already eaten 4 and was reaching for more. "Susan, we only reserved 1 lamb chop per person. You've already had 2 extra ones for yourself and your husband, so please have something else. It might seem small, but we can't get more food because we reserved it." "There are limitations," I explained. "What? I can't eat what I want. That's not fair," she complained. I reminded her, "Didn't you know this when we made the reservation?" We planned and decided on the food together, even discussing ordering more because of our growing children. Susan insisted, "I don't eat much. I have a small appetite. Just count me as not there, and 1 extra portion should be fine for my kids and the men." I thought ordering for 10 people, including our 2 middle school kids who eat a lot, and 1 elementary school child, would be enough. But the meat was disappearing quickly. "My son wants that meat," my son said, reaching for it. But Susan grabbed it and ate it quickly. I was upset, and even my usually calm husband was getting annoyed. We couldn't strongly object because Susan's children were there. "Mom, don't act like a child," said Susan's daughter. Susan justified herself, saying, "Survival in camping means fighting over meat." The children were surprised by Susan's immature behavior. Later, we finished the barbecue, played outside for a bit, and decided to take a break. Since the cottages were separate, we could take a break from Susan and relax. Even though it was supposed to be fun, it felt tense, and my husband looked tired. He suggested, "Let's have breakfast and head home early tomorrow." We spent the rest of the time relaxing with our family and greeted the morning. Susan came out of her cottage cheerfully, saying, "Good morning." I replied, "Good morning. You're lively today." She said, "Of course." I ate a lot, relaxed, and had a great time. For breakfast, we had sandwiches provided, played a bit more, and then started preparing to leave. During the final payment, Susan was missing. I told my husband, and we looked around, but even Susan's children were not there. I asked the kids if they had seen her, and they said she mentioned going to the restroom and told them to go before leaving. When asked about payment, I requested the cashier to wait. After waiting for 10 more minutes, Susan hadn't returned. I went to check the restroom, but Susan and her kids were gone, and her car, which was supposed to be parked nearby, was missing too. What? My husband was surprised. It looked like Susan and her family had already left. I couldn't believe it. I was about to explode with anger. Inviting us and then leaving without paying was infuriating. The total cost of everything, including camping equipment, cottage stay, drinks, meat, and more, was nearly $900. Susan knew the approximate amount during the reservation, and she insisted on this place, which only allowed on-site payment. It seemed like a planned act now. We decided to go straight to Susan's house. "Susan, please open the door." After ringing the doorbell many times, Susan reluctantly opened it. "Susan, why did you leave without telling us?" I asked. "Huh? Didn't I say I was leaving?" She acted like she didn't know. "Susan, you need to pay now. Give us the money," I told her firmly. "Oh, I forgot. But I don't have any money right now," Susan replied. "We agreed on the amount beforehand, right? You set the budget." I hadn't mentioned it earlier, but I couldn't stay quiet any longer. However, she kept saying she had no money, so I asked, "What happened? You bought something you wanted before the camping trip. Look," she said, laughing and showing off her purchase. "So you didn't have money during the camping trip?" I asked, getting a bit annoyed but still questioning her. "Yeah, I didn't have it when I reserved. So what?" I was fed up with Susan, who kept laughing without feeling sorry at all. "You planned this from the beginning," I said, and she replied, "Well, thanks to me inviting you. We had a great time. It's a win-win situation, isn't it?" So I confirmed one last time. "So you don't plan to pay? You're so persistent. It's embarrassing. I told you I don't have the money. When I get it, I'll pay you back. Or are you trying to get money from someone who doesn't have any?" With no shame and an unapologetic attitude, Susan laughed, and I reached my breaking point. "I see, understood." I went home without saying much and talked to my husband about what happened. Time passed, and Susan suggested, "Michelle, there's a tasty restaurant nearby. Let's go." She acted like the camping incident never happened. "I'm sorry, but I'm busy, so I can't go." I have been saying no to Susan's invites for a few months, getting impatient. Susan came up to me looking angry, saying, "Are you avoiding me? Still upset about the camping thing? A few hundred or a few $1,000s, it doesn't matter. I can't believe you'd avoid someone over that, even if it were a lot more." She ranted, really upset and talking fast. "Is that so, Susan? Let's plan a trip to an inn next time." I suggested going on a trip. "Huh? Oh, sure, you planned it. In that case, I'll have to check with my family." Susan became cheerful. I told her my husband gave me some alone time, thinking of a 2-night trip. When she asked if my husband would watch the kids, I said he was busy. To the unsure Susan, I said, "I plan to stay for 2 nights from Friday. If it's difficult, I'll go alone." She said she'd leave the kids with her husband's parents and join the trip. When I showed her the inn's exterior, Susan got even more excited. "I'll book 2 rooms. There seems to be space for all." I told her about the inn, and Susan started looking up things on her own. "How about I invite my friends too?" she said. So I told her I'd make all the reservations at once. A month later, it was the date of the inn reservation. Susan and her friends were at my house, looking confused. "Aren't you driving us?" "Oh, sorry, I have to stop by my in-laws, so let's go separately," I said, and Susan reluctantly agreed. We drove to the inn in different cars. Wow, can't believe we're staying at such a nice place, Michelle. Thanks. Everyone was amazed by the inn's beauty. Let's enjoy our free time. Susan and her friends were having a great time, seeming to forget about me. The first day was just eating, bathing, and sleeping. After the bath, I found Susan and her friends having a secret talk. Hey Susan, can you really afford to stay at this expensive inn? One of Susan's friends asked. Yep, it's all on me, Susan bragged. Amazing. It's over $1,000 per person per night. So generous. Then I'll turn off notifications for texts and calls and enjoy this dream world until we leave. Susan said she'd pay for everyone's stay, and everyone got excited. The next morning, they went to the spa for massages and had a meaningful time relaxing. I tried texting Susan, but she didn't read or reply. Even at night, it seemed she was having a good time. Hello, Michelle. It's morning already, cheerful Susan called. Ah, yes, that's right, I replied, wondering why I was stating the obvious. You overslept, so it's your fault, right? We're going home first, so pay $155,000. Susan said something totally unexpected. Huh, oversleep. $155,000? What are you talking about? I didn't understand what she meant. The person who comes last usually pays, right? Susan said. So I said, yeah, but I'm already home. Didn't you see my text? I had messaged Susan that I was going home. Oh, I wouldn't be looking at my phone in such an amazing place. I explained the situation to Susan. I went home on the second night because my mother-in-law wasn't feeling well. Originally, I was just picking up the kids and my husband, who were playing. But since my mother-in-law wasn't well, I left early. Why didn't you say something? Susan was angry. I told her my husband contacted me late, so I texted her. She asked about the bill, thinking I was avoiding paying my share. I reassured her, don't worry, I already paid. All right, that's fine then. We just have to return the keys at the front desk and go home, Susan said, her tone calming down. Well, yes, since it's on-site payment, stop by the front desk. My part has been deducted. If the front desk did everything right, there shouldn't be a problem, I explained. You didn't pay, right? Susan asked again. No, I paid my part before leaving, so it's okay, I replied. However, Susan's next words made me uneasy. What about our part? With this question, I was sure Susan intended to make me pay. Please pay for yourselves. I heard after the bath that Susan, you were going to pay for your friends, right? Oh well, that's... Susan stammered. You're amazing, honestly. I thought you were the worst for always disappearing when it's time to pay. So you really were going to pay back the money for the camp later. I misunderstood you, Susan. I'm sorry. I joked, building her up. Wait a minute. I cut off Susan's protest and said, tell me all about your wonderful time when you get back. See you later, and I hung up the phone. When I got home, my husband asked, are you okay? I smiled and said, yeah, I'm fine. Susan and the others had a great time. Later, Susan, who had promised to pay, somehow managed to use several credit cards. When Susan came back, she looked really bad, unlike when she left the inn. I never planned to pay, she yelled as she went home. According to what the kids heard from Susan's kids, her husband, back from a business trip, scolded her a lot. You have to earn and pay that big amount of $155,000 yourself, he said. She seemed to start working part-time. For Susan, who used to be lazy, leaving housework and childcare to others, it must be tough. She's working so hard that she has no time to rest, both physically and mentally. I don't get invites from Susan anymore, and I don't have to take care of her kids. I've been able to have a peaceful daily life. On holidays, I can spend time happily with my family, and that makes me very happy.